Well, hello, everybody. It's time for a very important cup of coffee. I'm on with John Willis and Jack Spirko for our monthly discussion about whatever the hell we want to talk about. So we have a lot of whatever the hell to talk about today. Jack, is there bourbon in your coffee? That's what I want to know, first off.
There isn't, but now that you say that, there should be. But I've got another live stream at 12:30, so I gotta hold off on the bourbon until then.
Yeah, cool. And John, how are you feeling after the weekend?
Oh, I'm great. I'm a little tired. Like I feel the mileage. I've been out there watering swales. I just planted probably 50 more pieces of comfrey, crams, and roots in the upper berm this morning, and it's awesome. I mean, everything's growing. All that seed we put, I don't know about all of it, but there is sprout everywhere. Everywhere you move and look at those berms, stuff's growing now.
So people thought we were crazy to do a swale workshop in Tennessee, in one of the hotter parts of Tennessee, the last weekend of July. And what happened?
I don't know. Like we just did it. I mean,
we did it. The weather was perfect. So it was like the oven has been on all summer, and the oven just like turned itself down, and the rain patterns just adjusted themselves to germinate the seeds perfectly, almost as if the universe wanted John Willis to have swales that did not get completely destroyed by weird weather events. So it was really good. And I was really thankful that it wasn't super hot because, you know, wet in the summer isn't so bad. Hot in the summer can be unbearable. So I think we only sunburned one person really badly.
And that was their poor planning. I don't even know who that is, but
I do.
The fact that I'm not sunburned and I was out there an extra day.
Yeah. Okay. So what are we talking about this week, Jack? Oh, guys, by the way, if you want to ask a question or bring a topic up, please put the first few words in all caps. We will star those and get to them when we want to get to them, either later or right then. The choice is ours, but definitely get your questions or comments in that you want us to see in all caps. All caps. See, there's a helpful guide right there at the bottom of the screen.
It even shows you how to do it if you're not capable of understanding words.
I have politics that I have not fact-checked. You want to go through those?
What's that?
Politics I haven't fact-checked.
Non-fact-check politics. All right, let's just stay off the coop today because I'm on a strike again. So
No. It's not about that. So
right.
the big old bill that just passed about, you know, dealing with the inflation. You know what I'm talking about?
The Inflation Reduction Act?
The Inflation Reduction Act, which raises taxes. According to one source that I read today that I have not fact-checked, they looked at how much it raises taxes, and the highest tax increase is about 3-point-something% on people earning $10,000 and below. The second highest is the next tier up, and you know where it does not raise taxes at all? Above $400,000. So
that can't be true. Senator Liz Warren said officially on Twitter that it only raised taxes for people making over $400,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
So he couldn't possibly be lying or economically illiterate. There's no way whatsoever that could be the case.
No, it couldn't. So I am going to fact check it because I was like, you know, I don't want to go spreading gossip, but I'm totally doing that right here, spreading gossip. But nobody's going to even be outraged about that when they figure it out. When it has been fact checked, they're going to argue because, you know, Senator Elizabeth Warren said that's not true. And then meanwhile, we are taxing people who earn under $10,000 a year, which I don't know about you, Jack, but even I, with my frugal living choices, don't live on under $10,000 a year. So like that is a serious level of admiration for people who can make that work.
It is, but I'll hold my outrage on this because the person making under $10,000 a year doesn't actually pay any taxes. So 3% of zero is, let's say they were paying $100 a year and now they have the 3% increase. That sounds like a big deal, but it would be now they're paying $103.
But it's going to catch that 50% of the population that pays zero taxes are now going to. Yeah.
That would be okay with me, actually, other than I don't want any taxes for anybody. I just like, class, what do we call it when we have a piece of disinformation in plain sight? Fans of Robert Shea and Robert Anton Wilson would recognize that as a FNORD. So whenever you see a bill called anything, whatever it says it is, it's the opposite. So if it's the Patriot Act, it's the Anti-Patriot Act, right? If it's the Freedom Act, it's the Totalitarian Act. So I would think that the Inflation Reduction Act would be the Inflation Increasing Act, because what they're going to do is spend like, I don't know, 300 or $750 million or something is in this, or $750 billion. Yeah, $750 billion. And so we got inflation by spending money, too much money. So I got an idea. Let's do it more, and that'll fix it. And that's the bigger problem here to me.
Yeah.
Well, they said $90 million for Nancy Pelosi to go over for this Taiwan trip right now. And apparently her plane took off about 20, 30 minutes ago to Taiwan, where China has said, we will shoot down your military aircraft. We will consider it an act of war. And they launched with F-15s and 5 tankers. So I guess we will see. It is said that she has put millions of dollars into NVIDIA stock, and she was going over there to tour the NVIDIA chip plant.
I mean, it could just be a way of that they have of dealing with Nancy Pelosi for the long term.
Would you be mad? Like, I mean, if immediately your phone goes nuts, Amber Alert or whatever, and they're like, they shot down Nancy Pelosi's airplane.
Pelosi alert. Oh, hag alert.
I mean, I don't like for anybody to die. And what that means, what follows, like, I would totally overanalyze it and be bad, but not because she's gone.
Let's say they had plausible deniability and she just didn't come back. Like heart attack, guns, something like that. So there is no World War III out of it. She just is gone. To me, I'm still not exactly happy. The problem is when people focus in on like a Pelosi and like, I hope she's dead or whatever.
Yeah.
I think she's been dead for 20 years anyway. And she's running on some kind of animatronics or whatever. Because totally Google Crypt Keeper Pelosi and check out the memes and tell me it doesn't work. But yeah, the guy from it was HBO or Showtime back in the 80s. Remember the Crypt Keeper, right? He looks just like her. But so let's say you got rid of Pelosi. Pick the top 10 politicians you loathe the most. And you could snap your fingers with no global consequences other than they're not here anymore and they disappear. You're Thanos, right? Poof, and they're gone. Do you know what changes? Absolutely fucking nothing in your life.
And in fact, it's like when you disturb the soil at your house and don't plant something that you want there. Whatever comes in after might actually be worse than what you got rid of. Skeletor.
That's awesome. And it is like so when you eliminate a politician and you do it out of time, right? Instead of like through an election process, it's exactly like all weeds are germinated, all plants are germinated through a disturbance, right? Like you're saying, right? You have weeds that germinate because you've compacted, you have weeds that germinate from fire, and you have weeds that germinate from loosening soil. And you'll get a different kind of weed. So the question would be, what kind of weed would the absence of a Pelosi create? And it would probably be something like a San Francisco liberal who is far more to the left than she is, which is probably what you're getting anyway when she eventually kicks over or retires. But because believe it or not, the problem people in California have with Pelosi is she's not left enough.
Well, right. I keep wondering with the overplay of the hand that's been so bad now, if the pendulum isn't sweeping back right a little bit at this point, because it's gotten so ridiculous that people are like, okay, maybe we need, some more righties in there. I wonder if it will be more ridiculous or if it'll go back the other way for a little while.
So I think the pendulum will swing to the right in this next election. But the districts like she's from, when those people atrophy out, they'll swing further left. And that's the whole thing. Like, so you got the giant marching forward toward totalitarianism. So the only way to get there faster is to take longer steps. So if you swing extreme right on one side, extreme left on the other side, every time there's a balance of power shift, which is generally every 8 years in Washington, and 2 years after that, you have a traditional shift in the House and the Senate, right? And Biden losing the House and Senate, everybody will make a big deal out of it. Trump lost the House and Senate. Bush lost the House and Senate. Clinton lost the House and Senate. Reagan never had it. Bush Sr. didn't really get a chance, right? So, like, traditionally going back, like our entire adult lives, we're all about the same age. Every president either never had a full Monty control, or if they had it, they lost it in the first midterm. So this might be like really brutal bloodletting because people are pissed. I don't know about you. I've never seen a president with approval ratings in the 30s.
Yeah.
But doesn't that make you ask this question? Who the fuck are the 38% that approve?
Well, I mean, it's where you poll, right?
Yeah.
If you poll all your poll in California, of course you're going to get, you can make the poll say whatever you want it to say. But you have these mass exoduses from California, from New York, right? We see them showing up here in this town, and in our local Facebook group, they're like, hey, I want to vote. Who's the most progressive candidate? So they're already bringing their bullshit here. They left for a reason, but they can't let it go, right?
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. Like the people we actually have coming here, they're a positive addition overall. I'm anti-political to begin with, but I have to say, like every person I've met that's come here is like, fuck California, fuck Newsom. Like I'm coming here for freedom. Like they're not, 17 colors in their hair and you just misgendered me. Like, and some of them are like the people that I guess you would tend to think like just by looking at them might be more toward the left bent. Like I've met several people recently that are of Asian descent and recent immigrants, because you can tell because they don't have full American dialect yet and all. And they're the same way. They're like, no more. And to me, that makes sense because that's like one of the most entrepreneurial immigrant groups that we have. Like, and every one of those I've met is like one guy's running a plant nursery. Another lady, she's with her sister. They're starting up a nail salon. Like, I know that's kind of stereotypical, but there's a reason it works for them. And they have kind of the nail salon mafia going. And both of them were like, there's no way I'll ever go back there. And they, at least they're talking a good game.
Right. I mean, who has the best donuts?
Yeah.
I mean, that's it.
His name's Wang, and he's like a mile from here. He's right there at the corner store.
Yeah. Our dude is got bit in the arm by a cobra. I'm like, what happened to your arm? Cobra bit me. Like it's all in the. They had to fasciotomy a lot of it. I mean, but that's Asian dude.
It's interesting that picking fights with other countries and going to war is the strategy that I've seen multiple times used when we think a president won't get reelected to make sure that the president does get reelected because we're trying to keep him in office. I wonder how much of that is in all of this stuff going on.
I think it's some of all of it. I think that the people controlling make a ton of money from war. I think it's about also, for some people, it's about reducing population. I think it's all of those things. It's just which player benefits and how he benefits from it.
I kind of look at it like, so this could be a brilliant tactical move, believe it or not. If China is going to attack Taiwan, there's never been a point where the U.S. is weaker than right now. There's never been like you've given the provocation and they've made the threat, right? So if they don't, isn't it kind of like, bitch, sit back down? Now, I'm not saying it's a good gamble. I'm saying if they don't, and they know that too, right? And then the saving facing, like this is a dangerous situation. But if they don't do anything, and what I think is actually most probable is they try to goat us. So they do some close fly-blys and shit like that, and they try to provoke like an F-16 into putting down one of the Chinese jets. And then we did it. We fired first or what have you. And then they can even do a limited response and say, see, so like this is all bad. And if there was a gain from this, okay. But I see like there's nothing in the benefit of Taiwan. There's nothing in the benefit of China. There's nothing to the benefit of the American people by creating this provocation. And I know what people will say, patriots will say, we should be able to go anywhere. Yeah, sure. But the real world, and you know what you're instigating when you do this. This is a very stupid thing. The other side of it, though, is if it's a wag the dog to get Biden reelected, it's a bit early for that.
Well, it's not going to get him reelected, but it may get whoever they put up instead of him reelected. I know they need to put him up, like you always have the same president reelect, but I'm not sure this time if that's what's going to happen. Because he's so bad.
No, he's so like his own party's already like got the long knives are out. and it's not even halfway through his term.
Well, what if they invade? Let's say they invade Taiwan tomorrow. How does that affect us tomorrow? And how does it affect us in 30 days? And how does it affect us in 1 year? What does that look like, do you think?
We're going to have trouble resupplying things that we get from China. That's the first thing I'd think about.
If I'm China, the first thing I cut off is drugs. I cut off antibiotics, pain relievers, all the medications. I cut off all the shit that we've been too stupid. Like COVID should have been like, hey, you know what we should do? We should make all our shit in the United States, or at least if we're going to get it from other countries, we should be moving that to the Philippines. We should be moving this to India. We should be moving this over here and should spread this out. And we did none of it. We did none of it. And so right now, China does not need to fire a shot to cripple the United States. And if they were tactically smart, that's what they would do. They would say, you know, our better judgment has prevailed and we are not going to initiate a military conflict at this time. However, this is a provocation. This is an act of war. And we are going to respond with the United States' favorite weapon of war, sanctions. Right? And so we do sanctions with, you're not allowed to do business with them. They'll just say, we are sanctioning ourselves. No penicillin for you. No ampicillin for you. No tetracycline for you. No pseudoephedrine for you. No anything for you. No computer chips for you.
How would that affect your immediate circle?
And instantly, everybody panics and goes out and buys shit that they don't absolutely have to have. So it creates a false shortage.
Right.
3-4 months in, it's an actual shortage. A year, it's crippling.
Yeah.
So
especially for people who need the medication.
Yeah.
They're
why
gone.
Fire a missile? Why drop a bomb? Why do any of that? If you could just say, we are simply deciding not to sell to you.
Or they poison that stuff and sell it.
Or there's a whole shitload of Chinese-made chips out there right now that have a kill switch in them right now.
Right.
And they click.
I'm seeing these videos.
What does it do to them?
I'm seeing these videos on why TikTok is evil, right? Because it's China-owned. Do you really believe that those phones made in China, they can't just turn that bullshit off? Do you really believe that they can't just access all the other shit? They're like, well, China's data mining. And the video I had watched it's kind of a propaganda piece. And it almost looks like Facebook and Instagram made the piece. You know, you're so worried about Facebook and Instagram data mining your stuff where you're just allowing China to have your stuff. And I think about, like, what is China able to see on my TikTok? The United States citizens, they're not worried about China. They're worried about their government. That's more immediate, that data mining being given over to the government, than they're worried about China.
Yeah, and somebody's saying right here, Red Flyer Media,
yep,
sanctions worked so well for Russia. I should have invested in Russian currency in early March. True, but the other side of that is with what we're talking about here. Russia is an export economy. Our sanctions were designed to hurt them by reducing their ability to export stuff and import money. So they just kept their stuff, used their own money, and when countries needed it, they agreed to pay them in rubles. We are an import economy. So if China cuts us off of our import, our money doesn't really help us very much now, does it? Because where do we get the 100 billion doses of all these drugs that we buy from China every year? Who else manufactures that? And we're dependent on them for the final product in some instances, but often we're dependent upon them for the raw material. So while Bayer or Pfizer or somebody may mix it in their labs here in Ohio or New Jersey, they get all the base material from China. So where do we get that? And the answer is we don't have a fucking answer right now. So if I'm China, if I'm going to do something right now, I'm not launching one missile. I'm not firing one round. I'll fly around and see if the Americans do anything. That'll give me more justification. I'll go land my shit. I'll put my ships out in the freaking strait. I'll let you barely pass. We'll have standoffs like freaking Cuban Missile Crisis. And then I'll just go, okay. And I'll cut you off. Now, I'm not saying they're going to do that. I'm saying if I'm China and I'm being tactical and I want to do this, that's my best plan. Then you say, we have tolerated this Taiwanese experiment for 75 years. Leave Taiwan and we'll turn everything back on. And it rhymes. So the American people will be like, leave Taiwan, turn it back on. Like, don't be no, you think I'm fucking kidding.
I know. It's not a happy laugh.
Turn it back on. Like, and our own people will turn against the Taiwanese people in an instant because they can't get fucking avocado toast.
Have you seen the
cards because we gave them to them? We sat down and played poker. We took a fucking 2 and an 8, right? And then we gave the rest of the deck to China, and we're like, yeah, we can still win.
Have you seen all the fentanyl, right? That's supposed to be coming in from China into California. They're finding full shipping containers full of it. Watched several videos.
What now? I missed what you said. What would they find?
Shipping containers full of fentanyl.
Oh, okay.
Coming through the port. So they're saying all these drugs where you see all these guys just kind of sloped over like zombies, right? And they're literally walking, but they're not awake, basically. You've seen all those videos?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wild. So what if that shit is actually, and I mean, what if, right? What if they are trying to make some zombie bioweapon and they're just not quite there yet, and they just pushed all that into the West Coast there, because that's where it seems to be, is West Coast, at least the videos I'm seeing of it.
I don't know. I think that, like, we've clearly shown that you don't actually need a bioweapon. You just need fear of one.
Yeah.
Like, all you need is like to make people think like the monkey ass pox, the dark continent dick bumps are like now airborne or something. And then, I mean, there's what's his name? Lard ass from Illinois. The guy that thinks he's going to run for president. Something JB Pickard or something like that. The governor there, he's declared a statewide state of health emergency due to monkeypox.
So
which is dumber than the other thing emergency.
There's lines to get the vaccine in California right now. Over the weekend, I saw people lined up. You have first cases, 9-year-old, 11-year-old, New York, tested positive, lived with a homosexual uncle. So where's the contact? Was he diddling the kids? Like, where is that contact at? So they voted 9-5, World Health Organization, to not declare it an emergency. And then the dude comes out and he's like, I have decided that I'm going to declare this an emergency. So, and lo and behold, they have 6 million doses just ready to deliver, ready to, give.
Yeah.
So the money is already there.
Now, remember the one thing with the vaccine for the dark continent dick bumps, which, by the way, if that offends you, it's a democracy. We took a poll on Twitter. Dark continent dick bucks won over sub-Saharan swamp ass, and I don't remember what the other one was. So democracy has spoken. It is dark continent dick bumps. It is the smallpox vaccine. So it's not like you had to go out and create a brand new vaccine. But isn't it great that we just have this vaccine that we haven't really given people since the 70s, all ready to go? A little tweak from Pfizer to get a new whatever. And now we're going to do a smallpox vaccination in the name of monkeypox.
Change the expiration date.
Yeah, it'll be all right.
See, what I want to know is it any worse than having a case of chickenpox? Because I had that as an adult, and it wasn't fun, but it doesn't sound like it's worse. Like, why are we even freaking out about it?
Okay, so I got a dude that was here yesterday, right? Like, I actually know this guy. Works at a hospital in Mississippi. He said they did have a case present. It was a male, had homosexual contact, had some lesions. Most were inside the mouth, had 2 lesions on his testicles.
Uh-huh.
Dude's completely fine. Like, the dude is out of the hospital. They have sent him home. He was in the hospital, I believe, for 3 days. Just out of fear. He's like, hey, and he said, I tested positive in Europe, flew home, tested positive again, and out of fear came into the hospital.
Okay.
That was a week ago.
I think that it can be a bigger deal. I saw a study recently that I would not put the pictures up of why it actually, like, when we selected dark continent dick bumps, I think we picked a really good, so people that got it that way, it does not look like it would be a good thing for the Johnson. I'm just going to say it's pretty nasty when it's a severe case, but dying, not likely. And I know somebody's going to be like, it's not a gay disease. I'm not saying it's a gay disease. I'm just saying that particular activity is a really good way to spread things that need close personal physical contact. And so it's endemic in that demographic. And there's a certain party atmosphere that we won't really get into, but that seems to make it worse. And so if you're not doing that, your odds are pretty low. I think for most people, it probably is about like the chicken pox. Remember, like the way we even got a smallpox vaccine. The doctors of the day realized like all these milkmaids weren't getting smallpox, or they were getting really, really mild cases. And they figured out that the milkmaids had all this contact with cow udders, and they were, almost every one of them had a case of something called cowpox. Cowpox, monkeypox, smallpox are all in the same clade. Chickenpox is a different pox. Other than it looks the same, it's not a common virus. Where those three, and rickettsial pox is another one. There's a few other pox that are all basically like variations of the flu, but they're variations of the pox. And almost all of them are more mild than smallpox. And exposure to any of them gives some, not complete immunity. So that's how we got it in the first place. So what you're talking about is a natural form of smallpox vaccine, maybe? I don't know. I'm probably banned again. I don't know.
Oh, well, I hate to see you off of YouTube, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
We can just go live on mine when you want to. You can use it.
They will both get banned for life.
Yeah.
They did that. What's his name? Not Ben Shapiro, the other guy, Dan Bongino.
Yeah.
He was in a timeout, so he went on another channel and they banned him for life.
And he has 10 times more viewers over on Getter or Gab or wherever he is.
But I'm not making any claims here. I'm just saying like this is the history of how we ended up with the smallpox vaccine. They found that out. I learned that in school. So go ban my 5th grade teacher from science class, right? Like that's how we did that. So there is what I'm actually trying to do is quell the conspiracy theory. Like they made this new vaccine. It's really not. It's a vaccine I received when I was in the military because I got deployed. And even though they didn't widely do smallpox vaccines at the time, when you got deployed to certain areas, they're like, you're getting a smallpox vaccine.
GB, it probably is Fort Detrick creation. And as far as bisexual, there is one woman in this round that has tested positive, came down. She is married to one of the men that came from the original orgy in Ibiza at the nightclub. That's where this all came from, was Ibiza. And 17 people positive, I believe it was 17, dispersed back home, and then it has started.
Yeah, I was on a group discussing why are men getting it more than women, and somebody brought up a really good point that the cultural practices of many partners in a single day tends to be higher among the male population. And if you just look at it as a numbers game, it's sort of like the same infection rate based on how many partners and how much sex.
Sure.
So it's not necessarily, this gender gets it more or that practice gets it more. It's that close contact happens multiple times with multiple partners in the same day in some communities. And that means higher numbers. If one person has it, you're expanding. And I thought that made a lot of sense.
And it seems like it's contact with the pustules itself that is most likely to create spread. So sure, if you had a lesion on your hand and you like did this to somebody's arm, you could transmit that way, I guess, right? But you probably would go, oh, look, there's a lesion on my hand. But if maybe you had a lesion in a place you couldn't see it, right? And then
you wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know. So yeah. And so I just think, like, I don't know how far we need to go with this, but like,
yeah,
I think it's a head fake. Like it's a head fake, something else to look at. And now you got the Wicked Witch flying on her broom over to Taiwan. And like, so what
well,
really?
So far, I don't see a headline about anything.
Yeah. So, here's one thing we got to remember with all these international things. So Biden didn't know that Putin was going to invade Ukraine when he did, because Biden is a genius. Biden knew that Putin was going to invade Ukraine because somebody on the back channel said, hey, we're freaking doing this. So that same back channel is open between China and the United States right now. Like, there's a lot of times with these wag the dog moments where both sides already know exactly what they're going to do as long as both sides keep their word. Right? Like, think about when I don't remember when Trump took out, what's his name? That guy in the Iraqi. He was like second or third highest Iraqi guy that there was. Soleimani, that was his name? Whatever his name was.
Soleimani.
Yeah, right. So they cruise missile his ass outside the airport. They knew he was going to be there. So I'm like, and like everybody in the conspiracy theory world started flipping out. We're going to have war with Iran. I'm like, no, we're not. Because they know we'll just turn them into a glass factory. And then about a week later, they launched a bunch of their Scuds and they hit like this unoccupied side of a base. And it was like, we have gotten justice or whatever. There was a phone call. Look, guys, we got to do something. You killed our guy. We have to have a response. We're going to have a response. And then these Scuds come in that we can easily shoot down. We shoot none of them down. Nobody dies. Nothing gets hurt. Nothing really gets damaged. It's all on. Everybody's out of that base all the way to one side of it. And then everybody in the conspiracy, see. And then what happens next? Nothing. Here's the next thing to be distracted by. So
didn't Biden just drone strike or bomb somebody in Afghanistan over the weekend? I saw that.
I didn't.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
when
somebody
are we not drone striking somebody, right? Like, when are we not? Like, and this is like a different thing, but it's messing people up who are in like Air Force. They never leave Maryland. They sit in a basement like they're playing video games. They're 20 years old. They kill a shitload of people over a few years. They get out of the military. They hit that 25 point where the male brain actually catches up with the rest of the world. Right? Because women are kind of hit that about 18. We hit it about 25. Our prefrontal cortex fully fills in, and they go, oh, fuck, what did I do? And like, there's a segment of that group that's really high on the suicide percentile right now because of that. Like, so we're jacking shit up everywhere. And I wish I could tell you it's going to stop, but I don't see it stopping anytime.
No. And from the perspective of how much it costs to provide veterans with health care for the rest of their lives, if they commit suicide, that's off the balance sheet.
Well, they don't provide health care for them. That's the key, the not good health care.
Well, they pretend to.
Somebody said it was Osama's right-hand man. He's actually been killed 4 times already. So what about the avian? The avian flu has just disappeared, or have not heard anything more about it, right?
It just didn't get bad enough.
It flew away. Red Bull gave it wings and it flew away. What I mean,
right?
Why is that confusing for you, John? It's avian. It flew away.
Well, I set up 3 more sets of birds, brought them in, sequestered them, and kept them in overhead containment, right? Just in case, just in case. Now I've got an extra 100 so birds.
So when's your processing party?
As soon as you are ready to come do it. I'm really good at growing meat. I'm good at procrastinating like my last corn just crosses, we had to put them in turkey bags because they wouldn't fit in the extra large chicken bags. And when we got the turkey bags, they also didn't fit in the turkey bags. We had to get the next size turkey bag.
I remember those pterodactyls that you grew.
They're pretty big up there right now.
I know, I saw. We actually really should have done a processing segment of the Swale workshop.
I have a brand new freezer here. I really think I'm just going to dispatch them and leave the feathers on and everything, load them in the freezer, and just use them for dog food, which, I mean, that's what we use a lot of it for anyways.
Yeah. Okay, now for something completely different. Let's go to solutions.
Okay.
Let's have our vegetable off.
What do you got there?
This is a tomato. It weighs 1.25 pounds. I grew it with water, so it only tastes like water, of course.
I have 1 pound okras.
1 pound okras. What's that, Jack?
This is a Tromboncino squash, and I don't know how much it weighs, but it weighs more than a pound.
Yeah. Which one wins, guys? Tell us in the comments. The 1.25 pound tomato, the 1 pound okra, or
I think John's out of
Jack's
this.
Very phallic squash.
He did not bring a show and tell. If it's not on video, there's no proof.
It didn't happen.
I have this.
Oh, that's badass.
This is apron.
The apron tool belt.
I also have this.
Is a thing that every homesteader should have 3 of based on my last 2 days, because I've used it for 3 purposes, and it would be better not to have to unload it and reload it every time. Its most recent use was keeping a lamb
I
alive.
thought
we're getting votes for the tomato.
I thought when we're tractoring sheep and using grass feed and stuff, we don't have to vaccinate these things anymore. I thought that's the whole.
I didn't vaccinate them.
But aren't you having to give them all kinds of shots and stuff right now?
No, well, so I have one lamb that's sick, and the difference between a small scale flock and a large scale flock like Greg Judy has is he can just like shoot them and whatever, right? And it's not going to really hurt the bottom line, and he gets the genetics going. On a small scale, that's 50 pounds of meat right there for me that I'm using personally. And so nursing animals through some of these illnesses is something I have chosen to do. What has now happened is that male is not reproducing ever. He's going to the meat factory, but yeah, he got, it was either a parasite load or an ear infection. We're not 100% sure. And the process of testing to know would take longer than the lamb would live. So we're treating for both. And that one's going to go in the freezer. But I really think at the smaller scale, you just do that. And sure, the methods and the genetics are important to bring them strength over time. But if you are looking at not costing more than you want to, I think on the small scale, I fully think that doing interventions when they're sick, when it makes sense, is not a bad thing.
I've always taken the same approach, and I've always been like, we can test it. Like, what does that cost? Okay, it costs $200 to test it. Well, what does it cost to treat for it? $50. Well, then treatment is diagnostic. That's my philosophy with animals in general. Treatment is diagnostic. If the treatment for the thing is X, and X does not have a huge risk associated with it, then we give X. And if the animal becomes well, then we most probably had that problem. And if the animal has a genetic prevalence for it, then next time we have a graduation party, they get to attend very briefly, and we go on from there. And I can't take a duck to the vet. I don't care. Like, if I was doing 4-H breeding and people were paying me $20,000 for my special duck, maybe I could, right? But like, a duck is worth at best $20. So for my vet to go, indeed, that is a duck, that's $100. So it just doesn't make sense. And I agree with you on small holdings. Like, I get what Greg Judy does. This sheep's a problem. Bang, 3006, done, right? Like, but when you have 8 sheep or 9 sheep or whatever it is you have, like, that's a different thing. And you're also your first year. And then the other thing is, like, so your sheep are stressed this year because it's abnormally hot this summer. They moved. They moved. They're just there. They're on new land. They're exposed to new things. They're not adapted. Like, so you kind of get through that. You select the good ones for breeding, and you go from there. And I think that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. And, a lot. So he knows I've been giving him shots because he was like, if you were going to change something on that for a homesteader, what would it be? And I'm like, I don't know that I would change anything on that tool apron that he sells, because it has served me in so many ways on the homestead. I can't even begin to list them all. Maybe securing the syringes, which means, yes, I'm giving shots. The shot I'm giving most often is vitamin B. It's a vitamin B thiamine mix as a vitamin to help give it a boost, because what's happening is sometimes when they're sick, they stop producing that vitamin. And that's really all you need to do is get them over and give them some probiotics, and we're back to healthy.
So this is a good opportunity. Go ahead, John.
I think I'm making these pockets lower.
Yeah.
Deeper and a little smaller, because I want to be able to, like, for gardening, right, on raised bed gardening, I want to be able to put the shovel in there. It'll go in there, just hand shovel. It'll go in there now, but it's the fulcrum, right? It just needs to be a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the whole thing a little bit longer, and then the pocket full depth without giving up any strength on, like, the stitching on the bottom.
Well, sheep have – oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, like, this is a great example, though, of why we all teach the same thing with homesteading. Do one freaking thing new at a time and master it. So imagine, like, last year, Nicole, you really put in all the hydro stuff, right? You got your tomato wall and all. So if you were learning hydro and making giant tomatoes, and you had decided this is the year I'm going to do ducks, and you got sheep all at the same time, right now, you'd have to go, well, the sheep get to live and the fish get to die, or the sheep get to live, and like, you'd have to make a choice, and you couldn't fine tune your art on all three. So by doing one new thing at a time, and maybe as much as 2, you do chickens in your first garden. Chickens are really forgiving. If a chicken dies, that chicken probably needed to die. Honestly, like if a chicken dies, you're like, dude, something's wrong with you, right? Like just like unless it's a hawk, because I've had a lot of hawk action this year. I think the hawk action is worse this year in my climate because of the drought.
Because it's dry, the mice aren't as there. Yeah, we're seeing
all little furry things are coming out only at night because it's so freaking hot and they have no cover. So now the hawks are like, I guess I have to risk being eaten by a dog because I have to eat. I have to feed my little hawkling or whatever.
We're seeing them inside all the outbuildings. My assumption is they're looking for water.
That probably too. And then like someone here saying coyotes are crazy here. And it probably is the same thing. At least they can hunt at night, right?
Yeah.
Hawk cannot hunt at night. It can't do it. It's not an owl. It doesn't have the capability. It can hunt at dawn and it can hunt at dusk. And they do. And they like to hunt then. But they actually like to hunt when the sun is at its peak. They like to hunt midday because their shadow is straight down.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when they come in on an attack, as long as they're back from what they're coming at, that shadow doesn't show. It's like coming out of the sun from all directions for them. So go ahead.
You would probably hate guineas at your place.
Yeah.
We have guineas all over the place. And anytime they see an aerial predator, they alert and the dogs come running. But you can't do the dog thing. So many homesteaders want to set up and the first thing they want to do is get chickens or whatever. And they're inexpensive. So sure, do it. But your stuff's going to eat them. Until you have perimeter fence to contain dogs, once you have proper dogs, you will have zero. Like we have coyotes on both sides of the property on the game cameras. We never have any predator load inside because of the dogs. It takes care of every single problem we ever had.
See, and the fencing is really important for like the smaller homesteaders and all. When you get into these guys that are doing ranching and all, and they have their guardian dogs, there's a huge training curve with that. It's not just don't kill the good guys and do kill the bad guys. It's don't leave, because what will happen if like you're using them on sheep or something, the coyotes will take a young, inexperienced guardian dog and they will bait that dog out until they will, even a big, like an Anatolian or whatever, they will outnumber and they will kill that dog. And when you get properly trained, mature dogs, when that young pup goes to leave, they're like, no, they'll bite, they'll pull, like, dude, we stay here. And it takes a lot with dog training to get that core animal, because you train the dog its boundaries and your other dogs train the dog what is allowed within the boundary.
That's happening right now. We have a new puppy. She's 11 weeks old. She's up with the other two females. And when she chases those chickens, the other dog jumps on her. She has a high prey drive and wants to chase bunnies and stuff. But they will teach that dog. That's why we got her right now, even though we didn't need her. I want her with those other two Pyrenees because they'll train her up. It's also said that the coyotes will bring a female out in heat to bait for a male dog.
They'll do it. Of course they will.
Hey, what are these?
Looks like a lot. I don't know. Oh, is that a hickory nut?
That's what I think.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Maybe.
I think it's a mocker nut hickory. Unless you have some shagbark on your property. I've saw some shagbarks there too.
Yeah. But I think this is a hickory. It's almost it's so much work that you get so little reward for them. We don't use them for anything. They're just falling all over. Say again?
Pigs are designed to eat really hard nuts.
Hard mast, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they're good at it. It's fun to watch because they're like, and it's gone with their little teeth.
If that came from kind of like when you're at the road and you're looking at your property, kind of that really shady area, that's
where it is.
Yeah, those are from shagbark hickories.
It's right over by the chickens. These are falling in the chicken pens,
and they won't eat them. But like she says, pigs will.
Yep.
Also,
if you know a local pig farmer, they may want to come over and collect them.
So they're
the farmers I know with pigs, they're not coming over to collect.
So they're a juglone species. They're like pecans and walnut. So they actually have a chemical, juglone, that actually inhibits the growth of other plants. So if you wanted something to not grow somewhere, then you threw a bunch of those. The other thing is like that husk will turn black and nasty like a black walnut. And when it does, you can use them for like browning traps. So that's what we.
Or you could dye your hands for 2 weeks by taking the husks off with your hands.
So we had a couple of big black walnuts, and what we would do every year with our new traps for the trap lines, our little leg hole traps, you take a big 50-gallon drum and throw a shitload of the walnut husks in there and boil that, and then you dip the traps, and it's kind of like bluing a gun. So that's they make great timber. Squirrels eat them. I'm not cracking them. I'm not. They're delicious, but like the energy.
That's what a vise is for, Jack. You use the vise on the nut.
Yeah. I mean, I won't do black walnut, and they're easier. I love black walnuts, but somebody else has got to crack them. I'm not doing it.
Is there not a machine that you can get that does it?
Yeah. There's a little like manual one. It still sucks. There's like automated big machines, but
that's
you got to have a lot of black walnuts to make it worth buying one of those. They're thousands of dollars.
Well, I always hear guys planting nut trees, right? Because it's a fat crop, it's a calorie crop. But the times we've tried to mess with nuts, man, I'm going to burn more calories getting the nut out than getting the meat out of the thing.
So black walnut to me is not a nut crop; it's a timber crop. So it's a 100-year timber crop, and it's an incredible investment in your future generations. You're leaving a legacy, right? Yeah. But you're gonna plant a higher density, and at 15 years you're gonna thin for veneer, and at 25 years you're gonna thin for veneer again, and then you're gonna grow that out for at least 50 to 100 years, and then you're gonna have a return that's like 1,000, 2,000x on the value of the timber because it's incredibly valuable timber. But we don't really do that anymore because we don't think that way anymore. Like it's the old men planting trees thing. Under a shade, they'll never sit, right? You plant a black walnut, that's not a timber tree for 75 to 100 years.
Yeah, that's not in our life.
Yeah. Shagbark hickory is great for smoking because it sheds its bark.
Yeah.
So it's a living source for a good smoking wood.
It is a great, and isn't that what they make the hickory syrup out of or something like that?
Yeah, you can make hickory syrup out of it. I have a recipe for that.
When you're driving and you see just huge stands of pines for miles, that's what that is. When you're holding property, the companies will come in and plant them and manage them. 15 years, it's paper pulp. 30 years, it's phone poles. And last I heard, you were getting about an $8,000 an acre at 15 years. So I don't know what the 30-year amount is, but that's what they do. And especially if you have property between you and a road and you put pine in all year long, they're never going to see the property, that it's not going to fall, and you're not going to hear any of that road noise either.
So the other thing with it is it becomes an agricultural property the second you do that. So then you're paying almost no taxes on it. So you're able to hold real estate long-term with zero tax consequences on it. And so it is a profitable thing to do if it's land that you weren't going to do anything with anyway. And pines love sand and crops don't. So the places they grow the most, yellow pine, southern pine, etc., it's unless you did true permaculture, it's not good ag land anyway.
Mississippi.
Yeah, well, that's Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, right? Louisiana is one giant pine tree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the pines grew well here because it was so much rock.
Yeah.
Well, you got other things growing there now, John.
Now, yeah, absolutely now.
It was really fun. So you don't hear how much John knows about permaculture on his live feeds. So he takes the class out to show him what's going on, and he's like, bam, 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 bam. It's rapid fire what he knows about permaculture in really clear language. I was pretty impressed with that as you were doing.
Yeah, I don't know I didn't know that was in me either. On live feed, nobody asked a single question about permaculture, or they never even mentioned the swales, so we just never talked about them.
Right.
You know what we need? We need a fucking Rage John TikTok video where he's sitting on the weight bench at fucking 4 a.m. going, motherfucker, where's your swale? You say you ain't got time for a swale? You can put a swale in right now, but you're giving bullshit excuses about why you can't put a swale in. If you don't have land, go put a swale on somebody else's and tell them, motherfucker, that swale's half mine because I did the work. Like something like that.
Yep.
There's some vein popping out in his head and shit.
You don't realize what this looks like. And that's what I'd said. I go, man, I've listened to Jack talk about swales for 10 years. I've seen all kinds of videos about swales, but until you see it, and rule number one is access, right? And they kept saying that. I'm like, man, I don't care about access. I'll just drive over that shit in my 4-wheeler. And then you see it. It's a fucking fighting position. That's how, if you want to sell permaculture to preparedness or survival dudes, right? It's a fighting position. Like I could literally sandbag the back side of that thing and it faces the upside, the edge of the property, right? So we could literally build a fighting trench right there just by bagging it or bringing in rock or HESCO barriers. So it's multi-use. It's big. I mean, like, I mean that legitimately. Like, I have triple strand wire. I have wire to run the front side of the property and run 3 rows of it. So we're going to stack 2 and a 1, right? And then deploy it. Like, we have that on pallets right now. Like, that is a consideration. And when I saw those, I'm like, holy shit, I can just bend over and walk through here and not get my head shot off.
So think about this. Think about a large property now, 40, 50, 100 acres, right? And we come in with like a 25-ton articulating excavator. We do a full-on 9-meter wide, 1.5 meters deep in center, all that pushed over berm on the other side, and you've got miles of swale on a property. Tell me a freaking UTV won't ride right down in the bottom of that swale and be able to move with impunity as long as we're not in a wet situation.
Yep.
Without being seen from the downgrade side of that.
Absolutely. Mine would get
now what do you have from a tactical standpoint, right? I think I did an episode on this like years ago. We probably need to redo that one. Like,
I think you do, because I haven't heard that episode. This is the first time I even thought of it that way. When I heard access is the most important thing when planning these, I'm like, oh yeah, I know, because I've totally put fences in my way before and it sucks. Or like John says, if you're going to put a gate in, put a wider one in. That's literally happened to me this year, where I'm like, damn it, I want 2 more feet.
I got it from Lawton, but I call it the trifecta of permaculture design. And it is water, access, structure. All 3 of those things are equivalent when we look at a property. The problem for most people, and it's not really a problem, but it just is, the structure is there. So now we have to design water and access around the existing structure. But if you went into a fresh property, then those 3 things work together, and that will define the location of water, the access routes, and the structure, and everything like swales and stuff like that will be designed around that. And it's a unique way of thinking. But when John's right too, like, it is access that's most important. Once either element is already in place, now we have to be really careful we don't design access out of the design. And if we have this practice of driving through the swale and up and over the berm, we're going to create a compaction in the swale, and we're going to create a failure point the first time we get a big water event. So we either need sills that are designed as drive-throughs, or we need to take our swales and we'll connect a road across where we'll have a pipe that actually connects the 2 swales. Yep. And then we need to think about emergency overflow, right? Like, this is like the shit. Like, if you can't do advanced math, and I can't, then when you come up with a design that's bigger than something you can do with a Mini X, and sometimes even then, get some fucking professional engineer and go, this is what I think, and let that fucker put his compass and calculator and everything to it. And if he tells you you need another discharge, guess what? You need another discharge point.
Right. The one on top has 2 discharges, and we are going to pipe it to the overflow so that it feeds those 9, and then those 9 will come across and feed a pond that's not yet there, a little pond. So, yeah, I mean, you hear Billy.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, you can put in additional things, like you could say, I want a 3rd option. So you can put in like a big ass hunk of like 6-inch or 4-inch pipe dry fit on an elbow, and you can put that wherever you want. And then if you have a massive event, you can just tip that pipe over. Yep. And you can discharge that additional discharge and control exactly where it goes. Like, I don't know, if it's a giant catchment pond or something like that.
Yep.
Or like your enemy's house, right? Like you could literally design in a marsh moat that at any point we could drain and mire an attacking vehicle in impenetrable mud that was also, like, I don't know, planted to something like burdock, which is the Osage orange with the giant fucking thorns. So now your enemy's trying to get through mud, muck, and thorns.
Yeah, Billy talks about
covering a dry swale that you just drained into your enemy's pathway. Like, yeah, we need to do this.
Billy has his property set up so when you come to the property, there's a pond, so you can't go that way. There's a hugelkultur berm, so you can't get through the pastures. You have to come down the driveway, so you're immediately kill box right there.
Yeah. Look at us. I've always been accused of militarizing permaculture.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe you should.
Well, no purple.
Our retarded president and our Speaker of the House are trying to start a war with friggin' China. Maybe we should.
Yeah. I mean, it happened at my house without any effort from me because a redneck moved in and was like, "There's the kill box."
Oh,
I was like, "Good, done."
Billy's here.
Billy's in the house. So is Grumpy.
Billy or Billy the younger. I don't know which one, but one of them are here.
What's up, guys? Yes, there is drone footage. There's quite a bit of it. There's before, during, and after. And when you'll really see it is in about 30 days. All the seeds are sprouting. Everything out there is sprouting right now. 30 days, it'll be green. 90 days, you won't see any of that dirt out there at all.
It was well done. I asked Nicole when I saw the picture, like, what did you guys lay out with? She said you guys used an A-frame level. If you ever do a big project again, I have laser levels.
We do. We actually shot it with a laser level to double check it. Cody shot it with. We have a big $600 Bosch laser.
Okay, that's what I have.
It was a class, so we wanted to give people what they would have easy access to.
Go home, get a water bottle of string, and make an A-frame, and you can do this too.
Yeah. Well, we had an actual level on it, but
we had a U55 excavator out here. But they dug part of a swale with shovels so they could see, hey, if you don't have an X, this is how you do this.
Yeah, so they can see why you run an X.
Yeah.
That's why, like my chicken workshop, I made everybody kill the chickens with TA50 cord hung from a tree in a bucket.
Yeah.
It's like, but where's the kill cones? Do you have kill cones at home? No. Okay, well then this is how you do it. Like,
You'll be very surprised to find that your birds, when they're big, won't fit those. An extra large kill cone is not extra large.
No.
Turkey cones are what I use.
Yeah, that's what we're using.
Mm-hmm.
Turkey cones. So turkeys.
And then I use a chopping block. If it's really big, it's like.
Turkeys, I give them one in the head with a 22. Because I raise like 50-pound birds. I'm not picking a 50-pound bird up and hanging it upside down. No, I'm sorry. No, it's not happening. That's like a goat. That's like it's like a kinder goat, right? When you're butchering a 50, 60-pound bird. Do we have time for some humor?
We always have time for humor.
Because this is
I have all day at this point. You're the one with the constraint.
This is the greatest episode of Statist Jiu-Jitsu I have ever seen in my life. And I'm going to give all props to Salty Cracker, who's a fellow personality out there, who put this together. And I want to play this. And I'm not even going to say what it is. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now. But here you go. Mute your mic.
I'm going to show you a video that is probably going to make chicks pregnant. So there's a crazy video of the ATF going to a house, and the ATF is like, hey, you bought some guns. We need to see if you still have them because of straw purchase. A complete violation of your Second Amendment, your Fourth Amendment, and just, basic common sense and humanity. Here's where the ATF agents, they go to one dude's house, and the dude goes, oh yeah, I'm going to go get it. Hold on a second. Closes the door, calls the cops. He goes, there's somebody out here pretending to be a cop who wants to see my guns. And that's how you get this confrontation right here.
Hey, turn around. Let me see your hands. Turn around. Let me see your hands. Okay, let me see your hands. I need to see some ID. Get on the ground. Get on the ground now. Get on the ground.
What's your deal?
Get on the ground now!
I'm a federal agent.
917-110-3.
I'm a federal agent.
Get on the ground so I can find out who you are.
It ain't happening.
This is how you get shot.
I got my ID.
Do not reach for your waist. Keep your hands up.
Dude, why would I have an Olay shit?
Get your hands up.
Yeah.
Get on the ground.
Face down now.
Now.
Face down. You guys are making a big mistake.
You are the one making a mistake.
And then he finds, see, I get on the ground. I'm a federal agent! If that got you off, have a cigarette. Get ready for round 2 because it gets way better.
Wait a second.
Do not resist.
I'm not resisting.
You're acting like a moron.
Wait a second.
Stop.
Wait a second. Wait a second. No, don't do this. Wait a second. I got a medical condition. Get my license out of my pocket.
We're getting you secured first.
Please, wait. No. Hold on. I'm hyperventilating.
I can't breathe.
I'm not.
Stop resisting.
Would you please get my ID out of my left pocket?
Stop
I'm begging
resisting.
you. My wife, please.
My wife's pregnant. Where did that come from?
Sir, please.
Yo, get your taser out. My
My
taser.
federal
Get your taser out.
friend.
Get your taser out, Joe.
No, don't do that.
Don't make me.
Ow, don't do that. Okay.
Get him cuffed. Get him cuffed.
Don't taste me, bro.
Jack, you're muted.
I had to unmute everybody.
Yeah.
I had everybody muted because if you play a video and it goes back through. So
Yeah.
That's not the first time. That's not the first time I've seen locals arrest a federal agent like that.
No. But what I thought was interesting was that dude, that ATF dude, who had no business demanding that man let him in his house, used every damn thing that you see when somebody else gets arrested. I have a medical condition. Don't tase me, bro. My wife is pregnant. You're making a big mistake. Like every episode of Cops, I see some guy get taken down. I see that kind of result when the guy's resisting, right? And what do the cops always say? If you don't resist, there won't be any problems. And I look at that and I see unnecessary violence by the local PD that came in there. But I also see like, okay, how do you like it when this is being done to you? And I don't want to laugh, but I kind of got to laugh.
His medical condition didn't preclude him from going to that dude's house.
Correct.
Right? So, and my question is, once that all happened and they let him up, do you think he left or do you think he went to that dude's house?
I bet you he left.
And so this is happening. There's several videos out there where ATF has gone to people's houses, usually with a state trooper also. But the houses they're going to, those are like, $400,000, $500,000. They ain't out in the hood where the straw purchases are probably happening.
Yeah.
They ain't out where dudes are going to shoot at them. They're going to suburban, white collar folks.
See, to me, okay, I'm not even going to say, he's trying to get in my house. He's not a cop or whatever, which is kind of, I guess, what that guy did. I'd be like, so you have a piece of paper. That's nice. Is it a warrant? No. Get off my property. And then I'm going to say there's a man here trying to get into my house to take my guns that doesn't have a warrant, that claims to be an officer, and I have no idea who he is. But he doesn't have a warrant. He won't leave. Because I think that dude, as funny as that was, put himself in a bit of risk by specifically saying he's not a cop. Because the guy probably did show a badge. Of course, the way I feel about badges is, the stinking badges don't mean anything because I can go buy a badge that says anything. I had a guy one time, like road type situation. The guy starts flashing a badge at me. So I picked up my wallet and I'm showing him my freaking Costco card. That's not what cops do. I got a Costco card. You pull over, But yeah, I do have to acknowledge that setting them against each other, because in my situation here is, let's say this dude was a bad guy that did this, I would feel differently. This guy was having his rights clearly violated. You have no right to come look at my guns because I bought a gun, filled out the paperwork, and passed a background check unless you have a warrant, right? And that's not Jack the anarchist. That's Jack the pragmatist saying you follow your own freaking rules, state. So you have no right to come to my home. You can come ask me, but the minute I tell you no, the only thing you need to do is leave. And if you want to get a warrant, go get a warrant. So fuck them.
In summary.
Okay,
now there's going to be a language warning at the beginning of my podcast. Oh, wait, there always is on Wednesday.
You can beep.
Huh?
You can beep.
That's too much work.
There's a census that's going out, right, to business owners. And I don't know all business owners or what, but it's definitely going out to holster manufacturers, gun industry people. We have one in here. And they're asking, and it's something to do with Department of Transportation and Commerce, and they want to know where we are getting our goods from. They want to know who our customers are, and it's going out by all these Guns and Gadgets and Mr. Guns and Gear and all these YouTube channels. It's going out as though they are tracking where ammunition is going and who the customers are and where holsters are going. I am not clear if it's other industries, but it is definitely our industry.
It's not happening in the coffee industry.
Yeah.
Yet.
Who are the true addicts?
So I also saw Entrepreneur of the Week on Twitter, but I can't find it now. This dude, there was a gun buyback. And he
I saw that.
A box of the shittiest, cheapest 3D printed guns he could print. He probably has $10 a piece into them. And he took them in and he sold them in the gun buyback, a whole box of them for $50 a piece. And then the
150 a piece.
150 a piece.
150 a piece.
He's knocking out more. He's making more money selling a cheap 3D printed gun than Remington is selling a rifle. And his profit margins are way better than Remington's. And the state brags that we got all these ghost guns off the street.
So are they going to try to jack him up for manufacturing?
No, because it's completely legal to make a gun.
Got it.
So what I would print the fucking serial number right if I was going to do that, because you have to put a serial number on them. That's part of what you have to do. I would have like it would print and like I would just update the thing and just be like 00001 0002, and they're like 3D printed freaking single shot flare guns and shit. But they paid them for all of them, and then like I said, then they bragged about it. Oh, did you see
that was the best part?
Did you see the NYPD precinct that bragged about taking the splatter gun off the street?
Yep.
That was like, this has been an epic couple of weeks for stupidity from the state. So they make these things, they're called splat guns. And some of them are very advanced. They use them like airsoft guns, force-on-force engagement, stuff like that. And basically these little tiny BBs, and you stick them in water and they absorb the water. And when they hit you, they either fall off if they're too far away or they explode and like you get wet. They're basically a fully automatic water gun. It's what they are. So the advanced ones are $600, $700, $800, and these guys play really like over in UK and Australia and all where they can't own firearms. It's a bigger deal. But this one was like a $50 one you can buy on Amazon. So these tools, they go out and they seize this gun. Now, maybe some kid was running around shooting people in the face with it or something like that. Oh, okay, fine. But instead of just taking it away, they put a picture of it on Twitter.
Like a drug bust.
And like they did a drug bust or something. And they're like, our brave officers did good work last night and removed this. And it uses a spring to compress air, which makes it an air rifle illegal under New York law or New York City law. They got like 4,800 comments. Not one I read was like, good job, guys. It was a slaughter. Somebody put up like, our brave officers seized this, and it was like a stack of straws and napkins, which under U.S. law would be an air gun. And like they had like, it was meme after. It was brutal, and they never took it down. And people were like, this has to be a parody account. No, it was not a parody account. Like so what is the mentality of our police force? And I'm not saying all officers, but our overriding people running our police force, that you actually thought, you know what, this is a great one for the Twitter account. Let's put a child, and it's like blue and yellow and orange. It is a child's toy. It didn't even get good reviews. It got like 2.5 stars on Amazon. That's what a shitty version of this thing it is.
So they can't have airsoft in China. So they have the exact same thing. They just call it gel soft, and it shoots those things. Okay. And that's where most of that originates. And just like airsoft, you have, a $50 airsoft gun, or you have a $2,000 airsoft gun. Same deal. And that was the toy version that they were, so proud of. It's nuts.
Well, I gotta ask this: how well trained are they that they don't know what a real gun is? Now, or is it that they just don't care?
I'm going to defend that a little bit, because a lot of the guys printing the 3D shit and all, they're printing like, ARs that are in DeWalt colors and shit like that. So just because it's a color, you know, but they didn't say we thought this was a firearm.
Yeah.
They presented it as they knew exactly what it was, and they seized it because under New York City law, an air rifle is illegal. And but there is, because that was the few people did say, well, what if it was a real firearm disguised as a toy? Because that is something people are doing, which, by the way, if you're doing that, you're fucking stupid, and you shouldn't do that, and you're not helping, right? Like, I need 1 minute, guys. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I don't know. It's once you know what it is, why you would do that is just beyond me. So let's see some of these questions. You ready for those?
Yep.
First one. Love the short Swale shop workshop piece. Oh, you've already answered that. No? Oh, are you going to put any Swale footage in a series on your YouTube?
That question's for you. While he addressed it to me, we have a ton of footage shot from 6 camera angles. It's going to take a while to put that together in something presentation-wise. I have footage I will be putting up where you can kind of see, but the full instructional video, that'll probably be on a paywall. I don't know what that'll cost. It won't be a lot, but the real thing will be behind a payment wall. And yes, you will be able to see it probably as an instructional video, because it was shot in a manner that it would be A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So it just has to be put together.
Yeah, this is where we're at with that. It's getting edited now, And then we are going to put it behind a paywall. And the minute it's available for sale, we'll let you know. Price has not been determined yet. I'm not sure how much editing is going to cost or any of those things yet. But we came into the class with the intention of finding out, can we really capture this well enough to make the best Swale training webinar that we can, basically digital class. And the footage turned out great. We didn't know that going in. That's why we didn't promise it going in. I was just like, well, we're here doing the thing. We might as well have cameras rolling. Trisha came out. She did a great job. And we're pretty excited about what may happen next. So we'll keep you posted. We're going to go as fast as we can on that.
And this thing's not done. There's a swale going in here that's 10 times bigger than what we've already put in. So even it might be, and it will be a series. So once that one goes up, we will shoot another one in a manner, you know, with a script kind of, or at least an outline, so we can shoot it in that manner. So whatever you end up seeing, there will be more in that series.
Awesome. People are wondering where to get the tool apron. I'm putting the link up. It's at Original SOE Gear. If you search tool apron, you will get this link. But that is the link. /products/tool apron. You have a lot of those ready to ship out right now, right, John?
I think there's maybe, I don't know, there's a handful of them, 6, maybe 7, 8.
Yeah, get your order in now if you want to get one, because they'll be manufacturing them after they sell out, and then that takes as long as it takes.
So you can't order them. On these, the inventory is locked and correct. If it lets you order it, it'll ship to you today or tomorrow. I think multicam is the only color we currently have. We are going to make more. I think that's actually being cut today. But those are being made for Self-Reliance Festival. Those will probably not go online.
That means you need to come to Self-Reliance Festival if you want to get one.
Yeah, and I just pulled it up. Multicam's the only one that's not grayed out. So there it is right there. That's what it looks like. If you see that, you're getting the right thing.
Yep. Those are great. Okay, next question. What is the Taiwan situation distracting us from?
Well, that's always, what's monkeypox? It's always look at this, look at this. Do you think food production warehouses and factories have stopped burning down? They just stopped reporting it because it's so common.
Awesome. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Why is everybody getting bagged potting soil this year and all their shit's dying? What is in all that soil? And you have massive YouTubers right now bringing in name brand compost, and it's decimating their row houses. Nothing's growing in it. Is that by design or is that by accident? I don't know, but the outcome's the same.
Yeah, I've never been so glad to have rabbits as I was this year.
Paul Whitney going, I told you so, right? Paul said every commercial product ever has persistent herbicide in it.
Yep.
And, yeah.
I look forward to you guys discussing that next time I see you two in person.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Okay, can pigs forage azalea and or rhododendrons? The answer, I have pigs. I raise pigs. I don't know, but I do know this. If you are having your pigs forage, they will eat what they can eat as long as you're rotating them on a reasonable cycle. They will not eat things that are poisonous to them. They may taste it. There may be a medicinal use of it, but as long as you're rotating them through, I wouldn't worry about having the azaleas or rhododendrons in there. It's not something I go pre-look for before putting pigs somewhere.
Is that not the case with sheep, Nicole?
You know, I have previewed our pasture for the sheep for things that are poisonous, most importantly, poison hemlock and milkweed. It's probably not necessary as long as they're moving. But because they're on new pasture, we have looked at those things. I have, there are other things they shouldn't eat, and I haven't noticed them even taking a bite of it. They just sort of say, what we learned about the sheep this year, besides the fact it will take 4 times the amount of time that you think it will after you've done all the research you do to manage your sheep the first year, just heads up. So when we talked about one animal, like this one, I was going to put in an aquaponics, a third aquaponics system here on my hillside, and I will probably this winter when we get our sheep under control, because it's been all sheep all the time, and that's fine. Yeah. I wasn't depending on that system. when the sheep get out, unlike goats. When the sheep get out, what that means is it's time to move pasture. We don't even electrify the fence during the day because they won't get out as long as they have plenty of food. So that's just something about our sheep that we've learned this year.
So we have a badass sheep tractor, all metal made. It's 10 by 20. We can break it down to make it 2 10 by 10s. We can also put a gate in the middle to keep a mom away or a male away from a female if we need to. And it's on wheels, 10 by 20. All together, I can push it uphill, just me, one person. Moves awesome. We're set up for a tarp. I don't have photos of it, but you can see it on Permapasture's video from a couple days ago. We did a little 5-minute segment, and we have it so that it disassembles, and it'll flat pack into 10-foot sections, so you could move it on a trailer. It's not all you don't have to have it assembled. So I don't know how many of these are going to be made. I bought all the material. Guy local here made them up. His deal. I'm not going to mass produce them. This is his deal if he chooses to do it. But I think ours is better than anything else out there right now. And we're putting 3 sheep in there, and we're just going to push them every day. And I don't even care about the meat from the sheep. I'm developing grass. That's why we're doing it.
Yeah, I've been really surprised how much and how quickly sheep eat.
Yeah.
Which is good. I mean, it's good because part of why I want them here is maintaining areas so I don't have to mow or somebody else doesn't have to mow. They will do that.
We put all our swales in from fences to swale. We built them all with 13 to 14 feet because our tractors are 10 feet so that we can alley crop all of that.
Water access structure. That's an access.
Yep. And with structure, for guys that don't have water, structure will give you water, right? If anything with a roof, a patio cover, anything, capture water off everything.
Road surfaces, even gravel roads, are a hard, almost impermeable surface, and you have to think about where water goes. And if you build your roads like this, for those watching the video versus Nicole's audio, that is wrong. Do not build a road like this. It won't stay a road. It won't stay a road.
For those on the audio, he's holding his arm at like I don't know,
60 degrees.
50 degrees. Like,
so everybody should
roller coaster road is what that is.
Everybody should make sure that inside your network, we talk about networking all the time, there should be an engineer in your network, right? And I don't mean an electrical engineer. I mean somebody's like a public works engineer, somebody like that. Like that's somebody, because all this stuff we're talking about doing, it's all fun and games until we put the shovel and wheelbarrow away and start using heavy equipment. And we start playing with the forces of nature. And for instance, Mark Shepard told me of a story, and this was done with shovels. People decided they're going to make a hugel mound for a church. And the pastor's like, yeah, permaculture, yay. So they bring in a ton of wood and they make the hugel mound. Well, some genius gets an idea. We're going to put in a swale and use the dirt from the swale to cover the hugel mound, which they do. And then all the hard runoff came off the church, filled the swale, elevated the hugel mound, a giant multi-ton pile of dirt and wood, which then floated. And the way it was described, it was moving very slowly. Times acceleration equals force. So something moving 20 miles an hour looks to be moving really slowly. But when it weighs like 220,000 pounds and it hit the dry cleaner across the street, it completely breached the wall, destroyed the building, and filled it with water. So please do math. I know you don't think you need math, but when we start playing with physics, we need math. And if you can't do the math, find somebody that can, please.
Also wood floats.
Because think of what could have happened if they had done that job with a 25-ton excavator.
Yeah.
Yep. And gravel's very expensive. For guys that are starting Homestead, and they're like, I'm going to buy this piece of property that, doesn't have a road. It doesn't have electric. Awesome. More power to you. And you can totally go off the grid. But for instance, just to run cable, for internet, just cable from the road to this building was $2,000. When we put in the power pole out at the road to run power from the road to that new station for our automated gates, $3,500. Like gravel, every time a dump truck comes in here, it's $800 to $1,000, and I've got over 30 of them in here. I mean, it adds up. So if you just have a dude build your road that knows how to build your road, and then puts what's called a cap on it, right? So that you'll move the water to where you want it. That typically takes a grader or a 4-way blade to do that. I'm not capable of doing it. It's much cheaper for me to pay the guy that knows how to do it than to learn how to do it as I lose loads of gravel, which I have.
Yeah, and I will say this. Really look at your lifestyle choices and what you like before making the plans for the road and bringing in the gravel. Because the one thing I bitch about every day on my property when I run around barefoot outside is that one driveway like parking pad I made that's gravel. Because gravel was cheaper than pouring a slab. And it went in 15 years ago. 15 years later, I'm still bitching every time I walk across it barefoot because it hurts my feet. And I have pretty tough feet because I run around barefoot. So, gravel isn't always necessarily the right answer. And then John knows that gravel is one giant plateau of edge where weeds grow.
If you want the best aquaponics system in the world, just put in gravel. Everything that you want to grow someplace else will end up in the gravel. Like these guineas are running around. There's 30 guineas here, and they're eating the seeds out of everything, and they're pooping it out in the gravel. Nicole watched us, me and 6 other dudes, for an hour pull weeds and clear this area. The best grass grows in the gravel here.
Jack has his hands like he's considering.
I gave you back end information.
I see.
Yeah. Basically, I have 10 minutes.
You have 10 minutes. Okay, I didn't get it. There is no private chat.
I was seeing if mental telepathy worked. I was trying to see if I could. No, it didn't work. Damn it.
And my phone's on the other side of the house because it just has a tendency to unmute itself. Okay, let's do.
I have failed in my mental telepathy skill set.
Yeah, it's okay.
I thought I had gotten it. I'll keep trying.
Mm-mm. Is there a calculation for feed pond to swale path and size? I think for water is what they mean.
Yeah. I can't give you that because I don't know it. But what I would tell you is that Jeff teaches in his PDCs, design everything to your 100-year flood.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever the maximum rain event is in a 100-year flood, design to that. So that's my advice. And he did say things like, if you found out that it was going to be 1 foot and you had a swale, like a 1 foot overflow, then you could fill up milk jugs or just sit them there. And you can visualize but get somebody who does this for a living to do some math for you. So when people say, well, what do you do with legal contracts? I write my own contract and then I give it to the lawyer and say, what did I screw up? So you can do your own calculations, but just really, if it does this when you're putting it in, I would put it by somebody
that knows what they're doing.
Yeah, with math and calculators and all kind of shit that I didn't pay attention to in school.
Yep. Okay. Sneezing. Do you have a work trade opportunity for Self-Reliance Festival passes? John wants me to answer this. I kind of want John to answer this.
Yeah, if you'll come in here and pull weeds, literally pull weeds. If you come, and it's easy, right? It's huge bunches of weeds, and you grab the grass, you pull it, shake my gravel back into the hole, fill up a wheelbarrow. You could easily, in an hour, probably do 5 wheelbarrows. Yeah, I'll pay your entry fee. Bring you and your kids and pull some weeds. Yeah,
$5 a wheelbarrow.
How much?
$5 a wheelbarrow.
I'll give them $20 a wheelbarrow.
Okay.
I have a lot of grass. Nicole, I'm sure, has a better answer for you.
Well, that's a really good work trade, and I would take advantage of that. If I need a volunteer situation, we will announce it closer to Self-Reliance Festival. But we've had so many volunteers who we have already worked with who know what's up that I don't see us calling for volunteers for next Self-Reliance Festival. But you've got 2 months between now and Self-Reliance Festival to go fill up wheelbarrows at John's, and that's probably a really good offer, I would say. Okay, American chestnuts are coming back also. Have you noticed that, Jack?
Not really. What I have noticed that there's been so much crossbreeding that we now have Chinese chestnut, American chestnut crosses that are 98% American chestnut. I think that's what's actually able to stave off the blight. I haven't seen any 100% pure American chestnuts. I could be wrong, And there also has been work done with genetic engineering, which any power that can be used for good can be used for evil, and vice versa. And I don't really like genetic engineering of plants, but we screwed it up. So I think there has been some work done with basically gene splicing into the American chestnut to create the blight resistance without actually any of the Chinese chestnut characteristics. That's what I know, and that's 5-year-old information.
So in Tennessee, we have a lab working on this.
Yeah, this is my places where chestnuts go to die. So that's my
So what they're doing is they're crossing Chinese chestnuts with American chestnuts, and they're hand pollinating them to reduce the percentage of Chinese in the genetic as much as possible. And they have gotten cultivars now that are close enough to American chestnut to be called American chestnut. And you can get your hands on these trees. I don't know how, but you can, because they now want people to grow them out in the wild or in the real world. But it has been a very, very long labor of love. And I think it's through Tennessee Tech University that has been done. And then we got Pocket Nick. Hi, Pocket Nick. Welcome to the live feed.
Look how happy he is.
Oxalic acid genes are being spliced in. So Nick Ferguson knows things about plants. I think Nick needs to run a nursery.
I think Nick does have a nursery.
Hiker never does it.
Yeah.
I thought he does have a nursery of some.
He does rareplantstore.com, and I know he has plants that he's getting ready to be putting into the world. But
somebody asked if we dug it by hand through granite. No, of course we didn't, because we can't. I don't have granite. We did this giant pond. We did bring in a big excavator with a jackhammer, and we did go through rock with that. But no, we didn't.
All right.
And maker of castles. Do you make castles? Like, I know a dude that actually has a stone cut castle, and they keep adding on to the castle every few years. So that was pretty cool. And they actually made that out of, stone.
How is it finished inside? Because I know from touring castles in Europe that castles, in the way they were built, are not exactly the most pleasant thing to live in.
So this one, people live in it. They have a big Renaissance fair every year here. And it looks like a real castle inside, except it's got a beautiful gourmet kitchen. And then it's got rooms that are very, livable.
Cool.
So there's got to be some insult. I think I know the castle of which you speak, because I know where that is. Yeah. Cool. I do. I know the castle of which you speak.
There's a lot of castles that have been disassembled and brought over to the United States. If you search castles for sale in the United States, there's a lot of them.
All right. Okay, so we're running up against Jack's 10-minute warning. So let's just go once around the horn and talk about something you want to talk about. I'm going full on SCA right now. That is absolutely 100% sure. I haven't been in the SCA in 25 years or to an event in 25 years, but it's all the nerd is still, it's strong in this one. I'm just saying. The nerd is strong in this one. So Jack,
Red Flyer Media. What's up?
What?
That's Red Flyer Media's on here. That's Rebecca.
That's Rebecca, the video genius.
Yep. I need you to come live here.
All right. I mean, she does travel with her home with her, so that's is what awesome. It is. Okay, before we wind up, Jack, what's on your mind? What do you want to share with us? Who are you live streaming with later today?
I will have a live stream running at 12:30 on this YouTube channel, plus the Bitcoin Breakout YouTube channel and all my other alternative streams. And I have Guy Swan and Brian Harrington and myself, and we're going to discuss the layer 3 revolution for Bitcoin. We're going to be talking about, just pick your phone up, look at your phone, look at all the apps on it that aren't like, I don't know what app it isn't, but your calculator app, everything but your calculator app, and think, how could this be monetized? And that's what's happening with the Lightning Network right now. So imagine a weather app that rewarded you for reporting a storm that was coming in, or a traffic app that rewarded you for ratting out the 5.0 and telling your fellow motorists that they're running a speed trap. And imagine an ebook app where every time you turned a page, the author that wrote the book received a few Satoshis and more. And we're going to be talking about that because this is the future that is coming. And I know a lot of people in my audience, and maybe y'all's, are not on board the Bitcoin train, but this is happening with you or without you. And this is about technology. Bitcoin is just the payment rails that enable it. This technology is coming, and it is going to be a really valid thing for us to work together with, because if you incentivize something, you get more of it. And so if you have an app that monetizes activity, that network effect is going to make that app more effective than the competing app. So all these existing apps are either going to adopt it or they're going to get deleted off your phone. That's the kind of thing we're going to be talking about today. If you want to know any more about me, just go to tspc.co. And thanks for having me with you guys today.
Awesome. Mr. Willis.
I do a live feed at 9 o'clock almost every night on YouTube. We can discuss whatever you want to talk about. As long as you guys talk, I'll go 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever. And that's it. I'm everywhere. You can find me anywhere. Instagram, Facebook, Getter, Locals, Float, all of them. Content on Instagram is a little different than what's on YouTube. We put 5 pieces of content up every day on YouTube. We have 4 or 5 different series that we do. If you don't like one, you might like the other. So check us out.
Yep. And if you do not see notification of John Willis's live feed, go to his YouTube channel. And if you don't see it there, click on videos. And if you will see it there, actually. So, sometimes you have to go 7 layers deep because YouTube does not love John Willis. And sometimes they hide his stuff from people who want to see it, which is annoying as hell.
And a lot of times people are like, well, you didn't tell us where to find you. That's almost on purpose. Like, if you're not willing to find us, then you don't get to be part of us.
And don't forget to get your tool apron at originalsoegear.com.
They probably already sold out.
They're probably gone.
I just love those things. I'm Nicole Sauce from the Living Free in Tennessee podcast and Holler Roast Coffee. I make great coffee, and I love talking about building the life you choose on your terms, homesteading, and all sorts of other random things. So you can get me at my website, livingfreeintennessee.com. Guys, thanks for joining us this week, and we will see you next week with another live guest.